Hello, everybody. Welcome to Super Soldier Talk. My name is James Rink. I am the host of this show, and I just want to thank Penny for
Mhm.
coming on here today. Penny, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. Kind of nervous, James, but thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you. So, I've got lots of updates to give you. So, let me just ask the chat. Chat, would you like to hear about my trip to DC? And if you do, if there's anybody in there, I'll be happy to share. It's just, I know we've got a lot of information here. But I did go to the inauguration, sort of. I'll tell you that in just a moment. So let me here pull up Penny's profile. Okay, so today, Penny Gabardi, did I get your last name right?
That's exactly right.
Will recount her conversation with Thomas and Renee from Germany, where they explore the synthetic fourth dimension and the concept of God. The discussion then circles back to her efforts inspired by Thomas' encouragement to restore dignity to the Lakota Indians. So Penny was born in Wyoming and proudly considers herself a country girl at heart. She currently resides on her sister and brother's law 300-acre farm in Nebraska, where she lends a helping hand whenever it's needed. Penny's life has been defined by her adventurous spirit and diverse career path. She began working as a business office manager at a medical missionary hospital, at 19 years old, just before transitioning into a career as a paralegal. Later, she was contacted to collaborate white hat private banking trustee information, focusing on the security aspects of on the ground programs. Her investigative and legal work led to significant challenges, including a life altering incident, but she persevered. So in her late 50s, Penny returned to college, earning both a bachelor's and master's degree in health informatics. She also is a devoted single mother to an incredible 27-year-old autistic son who has been her greatest focus and inspiration. Now retired, Penny is embracing this new chapter of her life with enthusiasm, ready for new adventures and opportunities to share her remarkable journey.
Mhm.
How was that?
Thank you. That was good. Thank you, James.
Did I make it sound amazing? I hope so. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's see here. Okay. So we got one person wants to hear the update. So great. So now that you want to hear the update, I'll tell you. So I started off my journey to Baltimore, and I managed to get out there alive. I'm like, so everybody said it was pretty sketchy, and I think Donald Trump needs to go in there. We can uh, maybe take some money that was going to Ukraine and level that city, and let's rebuild it. In my opinion,
Mm.
but thankfully, I didn't have to. I got to meet Lucas Crichton, if anybody remembers Lucas. So thank you, Lucas, for hosting me and my friend. So um, I got to do an interview. Uh, when the next day, I got to go to the Aeronauticals and Space Museum next to Dulles Airport. So um, I was. They have a space shuttle in there, and remember the what was it? Was it the Concorde jet? Penny, they actually have a Concorde jet in there, and that thing was
Wow.
absolutely massive. So I highly recommend that visit. So, and then the next day was the inauguration. So there were 600,000 people that went to DC to see the inauguration. However, only 25,000 people could fit into the Capital One Center. So what I decided to do instead was go to a local bar in DC, and I hung out with some of my friends. Dave, hello. And I met some wonderful ladies. We have Sherry and Autumn. So they both were are targeted individuals, and they were in DC as well, working on a lawsuit against certain large corporations who have been targeting them with implants. And so then I went over to the Washington Monument to deliver a message from Donald Trump that was channel information, like a telepathic message, right? So we don't like to say channeled in here. And it was so cold, and my hands were freezing as soon as we took off my gloves, because I had to, pull out this piece of paper, right? And everybody was freezing, and then somebody comes over, stands like 2 feet away from me, and starts yapping really loud, and then my friend asked him to move, and then he says, "Oh, this is a free country. I can do whatever I want, right?"
Mm.
So then they go back 3 different times, and eventually he clocks them. So he got to go spend a day in jail. So, but anyway, I never got to do my presentation,
Mm.
and I'm really grateful to the Park Service for taking care of the park there that day, even though it was so cold. So, all right. So after that, I got to go the next day. I got to see Mount Vernon, George Washington's house, and I was going to do a video, but it was way too cold. So I was happy to eventually got to the next day. I got down to Richmond and I got to meet Sean Callahan with USA MedBed. So I've got some interviews about some new technology that's coming out, and provided how motivated I can be to sit behind my computer and start editing these videos will be dependent on how I get that information out to you. So anyway, I'm back home now, and here we are with Penny again.
Mm.
So Penny, um, thank you again for coming on here. So where should we begin this
Yeah.
story?
Well, uh, I am one that gets nervous, so I have a little script that I wrote, and then I also have PowerPoint slides to go along with it. So whenever you're ready for me to get started with that, I will just start with page one and get going.
All right. So again, this message is not SSP related. So this is related. Could you give us a summary of what we're going to be hearing today?
Sure. You actually did a good job with the summary. This is uh, it turned into a story. I'm more of a storyteller, and what happened was we got into a conversation on your Telegram channel with one uh, Major Thomas and a gal named Renee, and they both spoke German, and I didn't. But as it went on, there was it was just an interesting influx of how their conversations turned out, and that really then started me to thinking about the differences of what they were presenting, and they were I know that Major Thomas was SSP, and I'll go into a little bit more of that with my story. And then it turned into what I felt like Renee was teaching, and then I showed more about her side at the beginning, and then I come back to Thomas, and you'll see how it splits. But that's why I call myself a story weaver. That's the meaning of my name. Penny is a weaver, and so I call it the observing story weaver of this segment.
All right. So who is the observing story weaver? Is that you?
That would be me, yeah,
Okay. All right.
because I'm
So
weaving quite a lot of information into just this one story, and I think you'll be surprised, even yourself, James, on what I'm going to be talking about. So you're going to have to. I told you it'd be a little different today, but
right. Ground control to Major Tom. Thank you.
yeah.
Let's hit it. The next one.
uh, So, you tell me when you're ready for
Yeah.
me to get
Ready. Go ahead.
started.
Hit
You're
it.
ready. All right. Well, very good. All right. So, my name is Penny, and as I mentioned, the meaning of that is the weaver. And as I've become older now, I've begun to weave my story as an observer. And an observer is a third party that is required to finish a legal transaction. So, um, anyway, I don't know why I was so drawn to the super soldier information and really space news. And up to today, I really don't have any knowledge of being an SSP program. However, I do have glimpses of memories when I was young. It would have been around 1965 to 1969, and from the age of 4 through the age of 9. I remember being in a small preschool program, and a white van would come and take a few of us uh, places. I don't remember where, but I do recently remember when my family would drive by this little tiny building that was located in a fenced in area. They just had a few cars around it, and I just knew, it was a secret underground military base, and I just knew I wasn't supposed to talk about it for some reason. That was my memory there, and that was located in Boulder, Wyoming, and I think that was an underground tunnel base there out in the middle of nowhere. And I was supposed to keep it a secret, as I mentioned, not talk about it. Later in my little school, they would pull a few of us kids out of class and they'd go in. We would have to go into a white van and we would do a lot of testing, like ear testing, throat cultures, and other testing like that. So, and then lastly, I could just remember as a kid, I'd frequently hear steps going up and down the hall outside my bedroom, and it was just a completely invisible out there. So those are just some of the memories that make me wonder about things. But um, when that happened, I do remember the panicking fear, and I would just quit breathing, things like that. And I'd tell my parents what was happening, and they just told me to put covers over my head, and I'd be fine. So that's about as close as I can remember to SSP or anything that might be any memories. But I did find it interesting, however, that soon after this, I started dressing up and playing a role of being a warrior. And I was a very good Cherokee Indian warrior, and I made all my own bows and arrows and shield and headdress and leggings. And that was probably around the age 8 or 9. And then when I was in grade school, I took it upon myself to be the leader of a pack of girls, and I would fight off the boys who would try to come around us. And as time went on, I just had I started to have this ferocious need to read, and I read almost everything in the library at probably age 9 in that area, and I just couldn't get enough of science books. I really loved the science. And there was another kid would be in a white that was in the white van that I remembered back then, and um, we would get school assignments, and then he and I would just race to see who could get those assignments turned in faster. And we finished our grade about in half the curriculum, about half the year. So they ended up splitting us up so we couldn't talk to each other, be together anymore. But anyway, I figured if I was in the program and I don't have any memory of it, I was likely underground as some lab scientist. But again, that's purely supposition there. And then eventually I became a paralegal. And around the age of 40, I was contacted by the White Hats to help them with some legal paperwork for farm claims and IRS RICO lawsuits, and to organize some leadership programs to find leaders in the communities who would be setting up their own We the People governing type networks. And we expected that all to start happening around 2006. So here we are 20 plus years later, and we're hopeful, but I actually see a lot going on. So I can't wait for the
Mm.
programs to really get going.
And
And
uh,
oh, go ahead.
Penny, do you remember the lawsuit that went all the way up to the Supreme Court back in 1991? The Supreme Court ordered that the IRS be dismantled. The Federal Reserve is not chartered to do business here in the United States. What else? We need to go back to a bullion-backed currency. And they also
Oh,
the White
absolutely.
the White
Absolutely.
Hats, they sent a team into the Federal Reserve and they found accounts, but again, this 1991, accounts
Right.
of $900 trillion dollars that were not applied to the national debt. And they also found, in fact, most nations owed the United States money rather than the other way around. Do you know anything about that, Penny?
Oh, that was the stuff I was working with, James. Because I was working with a trustee banker, and there was during that time the funds that we were working with would be related to those trillions that are still considered probably missing. Um, and they are funds that, well, the program that you did, your beautiful program about banking, you talked about a lot of that. The funds that we were working with, we were going to be they were trusts, so we were going to be working with the farm claims, for the farmers, helping them because they were losing their property and things like that. And then also we were filing lawsuits against the IRS for RICO. And so all of that we were expecting it all to, like I said, start happening in 2006 with the funds that the trustee banker that I worked with had, along with I mean, this was a half a million retired military people that have been working on this for probably since 1942, I would say. So I know what you're talking about, James. A lot of what you're talking about, I had to sign a non-disclosure to as 25-year non-disclosure. So a lot of the things about those funds I can't talk about till 1931. So, but I know what you're talking
I mean,
about.
2031.
2031.
Okay.
Boy, I'm giving my age out here, aren't I?
All right. Well,
Uh,
what? Oh, what is that? 7 more years. We'll bring you back on. So
yeah.
we'll
There
share
you
all
go.
these
By
details.
then, hopefully, our our pockets will
Okay.
be filled, and we'll be out of here, right?
I hope so too. All right. So all you could
Uh,
do is just wink at me and say, "Oh, maybe that's the moon." But cannot confirm or deny whatever
yeah,
they
that's
say in
right.
the military.
That's right.
All right. Let's hit the next slide.
You ready? Okay. Now let's see where we're at here. Uh, so, so as I mentioned, was working with the White Hats, and um, so I was also working with the private side of trust banking and the privately contracted military side of security for those type of private banking things. And so just a reminder, what always remains in my mind is security first always. And that was all I ever heard over and over again when I was working with them. Um, what I want to do also is say that I hope that what I do present next is not going to trigger anyone because there's, some more information that I'm going to share. And I'd like to mention that some things that I talk about may resonate with you and some things may not resonate with you at all, and I certainly understand that. I'm talking about seeing a bigger picture here and a gift for whatever you would like to do with it. I just hope that you stay on the positive side in the chats, and I'm just kidding. Because I haven't talked. It's been 20 plus years since I've talked. As I said, well, that's part of my story here. I got run over in 2007 because of my work with the White Hat Network, and I haven't, like I mentioned, I haven't spoken much since that. And they actually encouraged me not to have an internet presence after that. But they saw a picture of a huge hole in my leg, and they took it to be a stop sign, and they went dark on me after that, and that really broke my heart because I'd done a lot of things. I'd been really involved with things, and then they considered me a liability, and I just haven't heard from them much. Although Thomas said he's pretty sure I've been monitored since then. But so I've been pretty quiet ever since then, and a little nervous here. But I really do appreciate James reaching out to me to ask me to share a little bit. So the question begs, what did make James curious about asking me if I was in the SSP, and I think it was because he had noticed the conversation that I had on Telegram on October 20th with Major Thomas 30,886 is how he introduced himself, from the Light Bearers German Galactic Federation, and he is from Berlin. So
And
Thomas,
again, wait, hold on a second, Penny.
oh sure,
So this was in our Telegram group chat, right?
it
Okay.
sure was,
So
and I would go ahead.
everyone that has not done so, if you would like to, please join our Telegram. It's in the description. But just keep in mind, just let's stay on topic. SSP only. I know many of you love Trump and love all this other. It's just yeah, okay. My message. Go ahead, Penny.
Okay. All right. So Thomas came on and he actually had said, hi, James. And he told him to do the right thing. And then he just started saying that he reminded us that Mother Sophia will have the final word for everyone on this planet. And I reminded him at that point, I said, well, it's not just Mother Sophia, but Father Son, Christos as well. It takes us, it takes three of us. And then he reminded us that Mother Sophia is pregnant and will be birthing new types of humans for those who choose. And he mentioned that this process takes care of itself and that I would go to a place where I could continue my experience. He also said I needed to reach out to my ancestors, that they have, he started talking to me, after this, specifically, I guess I should mention, that they had spoken out and they would be happy to help. And I said, well, I've called out, I'm waiting for it. And then he said, well, I think he has already heard your call. Now it's time to go public. So Thomas mentioned again that Mother Sophia had been pregnant for about 7 years and was told that she would receive help in her birthing process. However, there was a short interruption to her birth process for a short time. And I personally had heard Mother Sophia myself crying out a few days prior to this conversation, and I mentioned that. And Thomas said, not everyone will go, only those who have listened so far. He also said that many have made the decision to help Mother Sophia, and now the process will go even faster because she cannot endure it much longer. He said it's not going to be a premature birth, but it will be a precision landing. So, in the middle of this conversation, we began hearing from a Renee, who said that she was from the Galactic Federation of the Palladians. And she was also speaking German. So I was using, Google um, translation the whole time to get a gist of what was being spoken about. And then Thomas later told me that Renee was actually channeling a male Palladian. So Thomas told Renee, Ceres greets the Pleiades. And it was then that all of a sudden it dawned on me that I had an aspect of myself from Ceres. It made sense, and I could remember it right then. And then Thomas mentioned that I'd be remembering this in my soul and not to remember that in my mind. And I said, well, absolutely. I understand that. So I had learned that the best place to
But
be is in.
hey,
Oh,
Penny, I
go
have
ahead.
a question. So we have guests on here like Jimmy Payne who say that they traveled in the future, and every time through these time travel projects, they said there was nuclear war and then eventually a pole shift. So I'm wondering, is through this birthing process, is this other version of Earth, is that the positive timeline where we don't go through all that? What do you think?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going to cover too, James. But to kind of summarize what I think, um, you have you we've got so many multi dimensions, and there's so many different timelines. And you and I had talked on one aspect where we said, I mentioned that I don't think anything relating to where the deep state is looking at their future, they're not going to see a positive timeline. They're only going to see their timeline. And so it kind of is same thing that I think with this Earth. A lot of people think she's going to split off, and well, to be honest with you, the Earth is a multidimensional being, whereas the other planets are not. So, she's going to be in all these different aspects. Um, but what I'm looking for is to what it is that she wants to birth into, and that's why I want to be with her when that happens. And that is not going to be raising her frequencies. It's actually going to be birthing out of where this universe is, where she is, into a whole. She actually wants to be a star. She doesn't want to be a planet anymore. And I'll get into the reason why I said that a little later. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. I'd learned that the best place to be is in the middle. And that's representing this Vesica Pisces is the area where a balanced state of beingness is achieved in this universe. This is why we must stay in the Vesica Pisces to keep balanced from the illusions. And change comes from the inside, from the soul outward. And Thomas said, well, exactly. And now action has to follow. That's the big drawback, is that no one wants to take responsibility. So then at that point, again, Renee began to post more information, and she started talking about the 1122 portal of the galactic central sun. She also mentioned that we were a twin flame, and we would be clearing karma within the connection, and when apart, that the twin flames would always find their way back to each other, and when they were ready to anchor in union in much higher frequencies. So Renee went on to tell us about the Pleiadians. And so now talking about the he said his name was Neoia. His parents found a star we call Tegeta, and they call it Amica. That's their home. And his parents were the first Palladians. His father's name is Elder Shilaka Eke Lamish, and he leads the Palladian Galactic Federation. His mother's name is Makaya Aya Lakim, and they're in the seventh dimension, and they have the power from their origin in Elohim with the light of Elako. That's their god. So Thomas then told Neaho, congratulations, and that it was about time that he knew about who he was. Thomas's federation, he said, was 1,000,000 years older than the Palladian Federation. So then Thomas told me to go out and look outside. So I went outside, and this is what I saw was that these lights all in a line there, and I thought it was his fleet going up there, but what I later found out is that is actually a satellite launch. So that's a satellite as it's catching the sun. Um, but when I got back on the computer, then Renee began to channel some more information in German, saying, returning to the source allows for reflection and clarity as each soul returns to expand its consciousness with the intention of forgetting who it really is. Prophets walk among you in all dreams, speaking words of wisdom, telling of future events, and perhaps making films to allow you the gift of imagination into reality to bloom. Through the soul's innate ability to dream awake, you lose yourself in worlds of beings, adventures, and sounds that reflect experiences from other worlds as they unfold on the screen of your mind. The Palladian continued, seers are born with abilities longed for by many, but those who see will tell you that this is a high price to pay, since you see both darkness and light. Galactic races can be seen while fairies fly beautifully in mesmerizing light. Figures are seen in physical and corporeal, which means non physical existence, while messages are received telepathically. Flying over trees and through mountains with mindfulness and without fear are everyday gifts of the seers. The astral plane must be mastered by seers for the discovery of its power. Mystics and shamans show others a new spiritual vision, while seekers stumble and fall with their own actions. And then I posted my response and I said, with all due respect, Renee, and because Major Thomas encouraged me to speak, I don't want to master the astral plane. It's where you're caught in a synthetic fourth dimension containing hundreds and hundreds of synthetic multi-dimensions. And then you talked about the source, but who is this source? This source is a part of these synthetic multi-dimensions, which includes our galaxies and others. I'm choosing to be with Mother Sophia, who will birth us past the great void into the real natural omniverse. I'll be united with my real higher self. And so my real soul in my natural heart, not the heart chakra, is whom I must learn to listen to. And then Thomas started to write. Do you often travel to the Great Plains near the Little Bighorn in South Dakota? And I said, well, yeah. And when I drive through those Dakotas, I feel the spirits of the buffalo and the Indians. They have taught me a lot, especially when I was a child. Well, do you know why they're so successful? Thomas asked. He said the Lakota Dakota Nation has a lot of chiefs, so you could not defeat them even through today. Well, I said, exactly, Thomas. They learned of the frequencies in nature and sound and the tones of the rivers and trees. The natural beings, they teach us so much. And then Renee started channeling again from the Pleiades. Realize nothing happens by chance, so that you have a certain lessons to learn, and the situation you find yourself in was given to you so that you can learn those lessons as quickly as possible and move forward on this spiritual path of ascension. Life is full of excitement and expectations if you are willing to step fearlessly into the unknown and take the next step in complete faith and trust, with me as your companion. Fear nothing. I am with you always. This will propel you into fifth dimension. And then I felt a different frequency. And so Renee goes on. We are here for you. We are the creators. We are a 12th dimensional collective of disembodied beings, and we are here to help. We're energetically engaging with you all the time. We who exist in the 12th dimension may appear to those of you who are currently living life on planet Earth as if we were in a faraway place. But you are animated by the disembodied energies from us and from others who also exist in our dimension here. We'd love to see you absorb more of who you really are. And then Thomas said, do you know what Dakota means in the German language? Friends, allies, to the last member. The Dakotas taught you to see, and you can still see entities today. And so then he started to ask me if I play the drums, and I was going to play a little short clip of a drum, but I'm sure you can imagine what the drums sound like. So he said they play drums around a certain frequency. And he asked me if I had a drum. And then he said, it's important that the drums sound like the hoofs of the buffalo. Mother Sophia likes this frequency when herds of buffalo run. So drums are very useful. I think the Dakotas are waiting for you. And then tell Sitting Bull your story. So now the Palladian chimes in again with a summary. And Renee said, this entry route into the fifth dimension oscillates by exactly 40 hertz, and it's on the border between fourth dimension and fifth dimension. This limit is like a supergalactic dimensional filter that only allows certain vibrations to pass through. This boundary is referred to by the mystics as the veil or the great void or chasm. The door and the big key. Something great has happened. It happened about 14 days ago. You have finally done it. On your ascension journey, and thanks to the great work you've done, plus a little help from the light, you've raised your energy through each of your 7 body chakras all the way up to the crown chakra. What's more, this crown chakra has now fully opened, and in it is secrets that lies in ascension. And then she said, here is the key and the only key to unlock the door. The universe has closed all the doors to lower realms to you. This world has disappeared, but at the same moment, in the last few months and weeks, the universe has shown you something new. This new thing and this new life is very different and may be a little difficult to accept at first because it's unknown. In this new thing that you may have resisted or tried to push away lies your escape into freedom and something far beyond any comfort you've ever known. The secret key and password for jumping into this new higher timeline and into this new 5D reality is very simple. You must show strong faith and courage, surrender, and let go of the old and make the leap to the next level. Just jump and make that quantum leap. There's absolutely no other key to the higher realms than these. And every great mystic who has journeyed through the great void will tell you the same thing. The chakra energy portals located within your light body vehicle are multidimensional gateways and travel routes to the 12th dimension of this universe. It's time for you to sail higher. And then I posted, well, with all due respect, Renee, and to the Palladians, you were very kind to notice my opening of the crown chakra, but I must tell you, the trip I would take through that opening of the crown chakra would be through the synthetic maze of all of the created dimensions to keep me bound in the universal fourth dimensional matrix. Even our planets exist in this matrix. And the source that you know in this synthetic multidimension within this contract you speak of is this synthetic matrix God source. The Son was born as a human Christ to transcend this matrix and also said to them, "Your father is not my father." The void you speak of is also synthetic, and the trip I would take through the crown chakra, which seems like nirvana, is like going on an LSD trip and very addictive. But many choose and need to go through this, and super soldiers, they find themselves fighting beasts in that matrix. The only way to the real great void and the real five dimension is through the heart, through the soul. This is not the heart chakra that I'm talking about. It's where Mother Sophia reaches 0 point and births us into this new place. It's portrayed by Christ as a second coming, but in the higher fragments of the system, it is the Father and Mother and humans going through the heart love birth canal in a blink of an eye. Until this time, I just get to be. And I will continue to stay in the middle balance of the good and the evil matrix as much as possible in the Vesica Pisces pod, if you will. She's almost ready to give birth, so I don't want to miss it by being in the crown chakra matrix or in the pineal gland experience. It's a controlled, closed system. I want to be in the place of light, real light. But I've learned a lot while caught in the matrix, and well, that was the whole point, wasn't it? All right. And then Renee said, "Then I will tell you from the High Council of the Pleiades Galactic Support Ration that you are not intended to reach a higher dimension. You stay in the first dimension. This is the punishment for you because you don't want to start this advice. And you should know that the third dimension matrix was probably bad for you, and the first dimension matrix will be catastrophic for you. Anyone who insults or rejects our advice will not rise. I'm very sorry for you, but you are connected to the satanic elite and want to portray us as ridiculous sponsorship that will have consequences for you. You remain in the position of the first dimension matrix and cannot incarnate until you are a creature that has learned. You cannot draw water from a well unless you first get a bucket and lower it into the well, fill it with water, and then pull it up. You have to do something. You have to make the effort to do your part. Standing at the edge of the well and looking down into the water isn't going to bring the water up. So it's with this spiritual life, standing around and watching others find their oneness with me will not help you. You have been excluded from the Pleiades galactic supply ration. And then I said, "Well, you just made my point. There is positive and negative, and they go from one side of the straight and narrow line to the next. There is good and evil, and we experience all if we're not balanced. So I am a sovereign human who chooses to stay balanced, so I cannot be punished there. I get to be, and one day I will go with Mother Sophia where she goes because I'm staying with her." Thank you, Pallades, for making it so clear. Now, did you happen to notice the difference in energies between Major Thomas and Renee? It's time to go back and put this into context so you can kind of understand why did I give Renee the kind of answers that I did.
Well, for starters, Renee did not address the question. Instead, he just attacked you personally. So
Yeah,
that just proves to you right there, the type of energy behind that person. Yeah. So
you felt it too, didn't you? I know, James. And it was so enlightening at first, and then it kind of turned a little
yeah,
different energy.
typically a good teacher would teach you by asking you a question in return, and this person just went off and just attacked you. So that just my point. Okay.
Very good. I like that, James. Thank you. All right. So I want to introduce you to the duality of the universe and the hidden existence of the great void and the omniverse. But first, I'd like to express my gratitude to all of you for your powerful journey which you've been taking throughout all of this multidimensional universe as various types of beings: vegetation, animals, molecules, plants, stars, and even universes. We've tried on all of those roles. I want to acknowledge your unique roles that you've chosen to play since agreeing with the universal creator to be in this journey, and now having the potential to help restore natural harmony and return to life after 0 point. So I'd like to define some key points here and concepts, which would be natural versus synthetic system. So a natural system is guided by universal lore, that's LORE. And lore has balance and it's co-creative and it has sovereignty. And a synthetic system, it imposes constructs using hierarchical control, polarity, and manipulation. So, the omniverse, let's talk about that. That is a realm that is beyond, above the great void, the source of infinite, unrestricted potential and natural creation. The omniverse is the source of all existence, encompassing all universes and dimensions and realities. It's beyond duality, form, and linearity, existing as pure potential and infinite awareness. It is the womb of creation where all possibilities exist simultaneously and where awareness is abound. In the omniverse, creation occurs through pure intention and resonance, without reliance on structured frameworks or physical forces. These elements, math, geometry, etc., are tools specific to universes with form. But in the omniverse, there's no math, there's no quantum anything. There's no need for calculations because time, space, and quantity, they don't exist. There's no geometry. Shapes and patterns arise as secondary expressions when form is introduced. In the omniverse, creation stems directly from awareness mediated by patterns. No electricity or magnetism in the omniverse. These forces operate only within the structured physicality of certain universes. In the omniverse, creation is powered by just pure awareness and intent. So, creation in the omniverse is spontaneous and it arises from the interaction of infinite awareness and resonance. So, here's how it works. In the absence of physical forces like electricity or magnetism, resonance, the alignment of awareness and intent, becomes the driving mechanism. Resonance is not a vibration of energy like it is in our universe here, but a state of pure coherence in infinite awareness. It is the alignment of potential with will. So, pure intention in the omniverse is beyond thought. It is a direct expression of awareness, unfiltered by structures, constructs like language or imagery. Creation happens instantaneously when infinite awareness focuses on a possibility and aligns with it. And so I did want to point you real quick to a YouTube discussion done by George Kavassilis and Michael Sala in his YouTube named Ascension versus Integration, Gods, ETs, and the Omniverse. Here's where George explains the concepts that I'm going to be talking a little bit about. And he went on an amazing trip into the Omniverse. And that's in this particular YouTube. He brings back the information on how he got this information. And so, this interview explains a lot about that. Now, I'd like to show you an example of creation in the omniverse. Imagine that you wish to create a unique aspect of awareness. By simply aligning your intent with that possibility, it arises within the omniverse field without needing form, structure, or energy to manifest it. So let's say that you're in the omniverse. And when we are in the omniverse, you and I, you, James, and I are infinite. We have never been created. We have no beginning and we have no ending. We are equals. We exist equally in the infinite nature of life. In the omniverse, there are co creators of universes. There are millions of universes created by co creators, just like you and me, to choose from. So let's say that you're viewing different universes and you come across Pearl's universe. And after exploring what potential experience you could have in Pearl's universe, you sign an agreement to enter into her universe. Pearl is now considered the universal creator of this universe, and she is not a god. So I'm kind of using that to help with the language so that we can understand the differences when we talk about a god and a creator. So the universal creator is this person, in this case, Pearl. And so if you want to know more about how this became known, again, you can read Our Journey Home by George Kavasilis. He's been a great mentor to me, and I'm currently taking a very, very deep class with a group where we're working on some closures right now, personal negative event closures, implant closures, cosmic closures, and beyond that. So now I wanted to just show you
Hold
here.
on, Penny. So is that how we
Yeah,
manifest? Simply, we just create our own reality that tunes to what we want for
yeah,
life.
that's it. And the thing is, it's not like you're using um, the flower of life doing that. This is just you in your mind, just visualizing what it is you want to do. And it, it's like this wave stuff, and it just creates. We can hardly imagine it, but it's a zone. I actually remember the feeling of being able to create there. That's why I want to go back. I'm at the place where I'm remembering what that feels like. So it's really cool. What I'm going to show you next is what the journey looks like from the omniverse, where we were talking about creating without any math or without form. And then we've picked Pearl's universe, and we decide this should be a cool adventure. So you have the journey through down from the eternal essence, the omniverse, and your journey begins. And I'm looking at a model off to my left here. So first you start entering the 12th dimension, which is the first level, and then you're contracted each time you go down these levels. You're getting contracted, like squeezed in, if you will. And then you go down into the 11th dimension, second level, 10th dimension, third level. And all of this is the realms of the soul. This is where our soul is getting prepared to just go into the experience, really. And by the time we get to the fourth level, the ninth dimension, that's where the nursery of the souls is. And we're going to be calibrated, and we're integrating with light and with universal consciousness, because before that, we were just all in oneness. There was just unity with just oneness. And here we're kind of now starting to receive our fractal, and we're implanted with an infinite fractal within our soul. And that again is something a little different than what we had before, but it's offered in this universe. And we have the universal light seed, and then we go through a void, and we're contracted more, and we go down to the seventh dimension, sixth level, seventh dimension, down further, seventh level, sixth dimension. And this is the realms of the higher self. So this is where we are the higher self, connected to our higher being, but we are being contracted. So this is where our multidimension starts fracturing into smaller and smaller bits, if you will. And so you get down there to the fifth dimension. So my higher self and I contracted as to what will happen to me when I descend, and always knows what I'm doing and in what incarnation I am in. We're infinite fractals of the large part of this whole thing. So then let me get down to the place where I was going to show you this before so you could see it a little better. So these are the realms I was talking about. And so then we go to the next section. And now I should go back. We get down here and we go through this great void. And this great void is on this side of the journey, if you will, in the realms of the higher soul. But when we then enter and go through the womb, if you will, and we're born into this great cosmic arena. And it also is the realms of the traveling spirit. And this is a closed system, and that's basically what we are in right now. And go down through the fourth dimension, ninth level, and then we end up are here in the third dimension, 10th level. And each time you're being compacted. So then we reach what is termed the Great Cosmic Arena, and that includes the realms of the traveling spirit. So within the Great Cosmic Arena, you stepped into duality, which is very unique to Pearl's universe. We didn't have duality in other universes, but this one does. So there's two broad areas: the natural system, and that's kind of represented more on the left side with those lines, a flowing, interconnected network governed by universal law. The natural system exists in harmony, while the synthetic system introduced conflict and separation. The synthetic system, more of what's on the right side, it's kind of overlaid on it, but I'm trying to separate out for understanding. It's a closed hierarchical structure with polarity, good versus evil, built on control and extraction. The synthetic constructs, for example, religion, technology, and artificial intelligence, mirror but distort natural principles in this place. So, just below the great void in the multiverse is another void, and this void is the start area of the great cosmic arena. And you'll hear of beings like the Nine who come from this realm, who are out there in space and of nothingness, and that's where they then come in. You probably heard of the Nine. They're out in the area of no form. Then you start dropping down into the dimensions with the imperial system. Eons and eons and eons ago, before this galaxy was created, Pearl's universe was going to manifest a road to compression, and that was a brand new idea. That's what was so attractive for us to come into this universe. The ancients put out a call to those who would play roles in the cosmic arena, such as the gods, who are also called archons. And these were very highly evolved beings who knew what needed to evolve. But eventually, in the cosmic arena, where there was a lot of drama, and the gods didn't like that they were not the ones responsible for the idea of compression. So they became jealous and they began to fight with each other. And this arena became unbalanced and fractured. Many beings in Pearl's universe could no longer see a way back to the eternal essence. You couldn't go back and forth. It was really closed. And there was rebellion and a systematic attempt to sabotage the project's design and avoid the road to compression through incarnation. And their entry through a different method is what they were doing. Rather than through compression, it broke down their energies and brought in the dark side. And they started blaming the divine feminine universal creator who embodies fractalization and compression. But we all had agreed to experience this universe and took on all of our various roles through different incarnations. So they modified the previously created natural realities and the synthetic realities and the multi-dimensions. They were created for their own purposes. And those of us that were caught in the synthetic structure began to lose the understanding of our natural soul essence in the cosmic arena. And this synthetic structure is now used to funnel our energy to these synthetic gods who are no longer in harmony and with synchrony with the original creation. So you can see here the separation here of the natural, many dimensions, and the densities within the ninth level, fourth dimension, and the synthetic system. When you hear of the New Agers or the star seeds or the indigos or the light beings talking about ascending into the fifth dimension, or maybe higher than that, like the ascended masters, well, they're referring to the levels that are still within this closed system, the great cosmic arena. So all of these levels are just right there in the fourth dimension where they operate within those many layers and dimensions within that imperial closed system. So we're here today, 10th level, third dimension, and there is the second dimension and finally the first dimension, and that's kind of where the Palladian wanted me to go. And that's a place where it's the most condensed version of our fractal that it can reach. Can't reach any more of a condensation. So it's reached its maximum expansion and fragmentation at this level. And some might consider this the double H, the HE double toothpicks area, if you will. Okay, so now I'm going to start looking at the synthetic closed system, which is the imperial structure. So you see here a picture of a model, and you're going to see this model over and over again in the imperial system, which is two towers with the triangle. And in this picture, the triangle is a picture of a pine cone. The other model is a headdress. That is talking of the mind area. So here you see the depiction of the black tower and the white tower and the triangle, which is the seat of the mind. The meaning, it's their meaning of consciousness. You see the left representing sequencing, filing, storage, organization, details, and the right brain works with concepts, reasoning, creativity, ideas, the big picture, and all of these we use, and each represents the duality of yin and yang of itself, the black and the white. What's in the middle is the eye of Horus, the pine cone meaning the pineal gland, imperial system. So this shows us what many of us teach, including myself at one time. And it's not evil, but it is an implant. And on a deeper level, it does create fractured reality. This diagram teaches the meaning of the raising of the anointing oil, or Joseph and Mary in the crucifixion. It's where you push the milk and honey oil from the colostrum, and it travels down into the solar plexus through the semilunar ganglion pneumogastric nerve to the fruit of the tree of life born in the solar plexus manger, where the ida and pingala, two nerve fluids, cross the medulla oblongata, where the crucifixion takes place and rests for 2.5 days. And after resting, it's raised back up through the cerebellum, which is the Golgotha, place of the skull, where the fluid is refined. Or you may be an outsider believing in the same process, but it's just considered a different, it's Jesus Christ process. Just remember, there is a natural Christ and Buddha, but there's also a synthetic one. So many going through this experience, they experience a sense of bliss and feeling of ascension, or that they're raising our vibration and implosion through the crown chakra. What's happening here during this bliss is the energy's getting sent out to Saturn into the 7 rings, which are mine right now. And all of the prayers of Christians and such, they're all a type of energy that's being consumed by the imperial structure, or the hierarchical model of the gods, where we in essence divert our power, our energy, to these synthetic gods. And this is what Renee was giving me the keys to. That was the journey through the crown chakra. And then she kind of turned on me, like God would do if you don't do what they want you to do. So I personally, I am not working on raising my vibrations to go through an ascension. I'm working on integrating into unity. And this is what this lifetime is about for me. I'm not here to raise my vibrations. That's the hierarchical model from the empires of the gods, you know. So I'm here to take all of my light, all of my shadow, and integrate everything back into the unified field. And that's the organic process for this planet. The imperial narratives are to get you to raise your vibration to ascend into frequencies that their imperial structures operate. Now, now, a lot of you may need to go through this process and may want to go through this process, and you might want, you know, living on spaceships and things of that nature, go to other planets, and that's in the imperial system. And a lot of you are still needing to go through that. That's part of what your higher self and you planned. I'm not trying to say that's not the right thing for you, but you know, you need to know what it is that is your choice, if you will. And I'm here today just letting you know what is the big picture, so you can remember, you know, what your options are. All right, so the pineal gland, our geneticist DNA was meddled with by various races with different agendas. Included in this meddling is what George labels as a 3-way imperial system. The pineal gland is an implant. It was implanted by the Anunnaki. The Kundalini, including the Akashic records, that was also an
Oh, Penny, yeah,
Anunnaki.
Penny, you can't say
Yep,
that.
yep.
You can't say the V word because how retarded you two. By the way, the United States did pull out of the World Health Organization, so you think that would change?
Oh, you mean the one that starts with the D and ends with the A? I can't say that. I didn't know that.
It
Okay.
is also why they use the V word. The nanites themselves are programmed. That one. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So I will watch. because I've got a few of those D's in here, so I'll be very careful. Thank you for saying that. So the chakras are an Atlantean technology. So these are all implants over the natural body. And this is the system of the mind. It's where you hear the term ascending into a higher consciousness. It's a system within the synthetic God imperial structure. And when we go into the astral planes and dimensions above, we're still in that structure. So the pineal gland, often referred to as the seat of the soul, is what they were controlling humanity with, controlled fully by reptilians and evil higher beings. When you look at life through the pineal gland, this is what you're doing. You see life through the eyes of this God, through your eyes of this divine being, the way it experiences life in this universe and the way it sees life in the universe is the energy you connect with. That's why there's a lens in it that points upwards. The body's trying to calcify it because it sees it as a foreign body. Let's just say that our mind is something that they really want to get a hold of. And so, okay, let me see here. I want to read ahead. So there's a technique that George is teaching me now, right now, on how to seal the chakra Kundalini pineal gland and bring closure with higher dimensional beings and soul agreements in order to stay in the middle of your soul essence and thus transcend back into the unified field. And that's really the process that Mother Sophia will be using as well. So there was a quote. Oh, I don't know. Can I use the word melatonin?
Yes, just don't use a word, a drug that rhymes with a popular Google
Oh,
drug.
okay, okay, gotcha.
They're going to get
And
that.
so, some people ask, well, what about the production of the melatonin in the pineal gland? And it's now been proven that melatonin is produced in our eyes at certain times of the day and evening when it's exposed to sunlight, and it then travels back into the brain system. So you're welcome to research that if you'd like to. Um, so basically, there was a book, War Inside Your Mind, Unprotected Brain Battlefields by McCright. To summarize real quickly, he does mention that things that the scientists are doing are highly attractive things that help the brain functions and augmenting it such. But now the grim reality is that, like so many other aspects of science and technology, all ostensibly benign, decent, therapeutic, and beneficial, they also contain a dark, malevolent, destructive, warlike side as well. So our brains are vulnerable daily within a complex electromagnetic, cyber, RF saturated environment, and that vulnerability is critical to grasping our collective dilemma. Cognitive integrity is a paramount risk of our time. So, um, what then are we supposed to use in our body to replace this Kundalini chakra pineal gland imperial system? Well, I found some information in Sabine Hassenfelder's YouTube. It was named The Brain Really Uses Quantum Effects. And here is my conclusion, and this is what I found. I believe this is what naturally replaces that program. So the microtubules are molecules, basically. They're essential parts of all cells in the human body, and they play a big role for signal transport in the human brain. They're polymers that combine, I'm being scared of the words I'm using here, that combine to tubes and are made of smaller components called tubulin. These microtubulars are all over our body. And Roger Penrose now has this idea that consciousness can't be explained by a computable process. So there needs to be an uncomputable element in what the brain does. And that, he says, can only be the collapse of the wave function in quantum mechanics. So the collapse is when a quantum distribution of possibility collapses to one actuality. His hypothesis is that this happens in the human brain, and that's what creates conscious thought. Why the collapse of the wave function? Well, because we know that all the rest is computable. So that's the only place you can hide something non computable. That means our brain, our mind, is a quantum computer type system, which, when used with the combination of all the microtubules in our body and system, create the possibility of actuality. And our soul essence can then naturally communicate to our microtubular systems, and sure, not exclusively, but at least essentially. And we can understand that our personal soul heart realm is a universe and its own stargate, and that will take us out of here. We have our own stargate that's going to explode, and basically we're out of here. And all of our answers and understanding will come from our soul. So we have to go inside of ourself, into our soul, as it's connected to our greater self and the universal creator, in this example, Pearl. So now we covered a bit of the right and left brain structure, the pineal gland triangle system. Now let's just take a look at our grand cosmic arena synthetic imperialistic system on a grander scale. So here you see are some Freemason statues that are located in front of the New Carlton Federal Building in Lanham, Maryland. I wanted to mention that this photo is courtesy of Jim Bobalicious, which is, I know, a friend of yours, James. And you'll see it reminds us of the two.
Isn't this the building for the Puerto Rican Trust? That's
Oh, you know more about that than I do. I just know that this is a government building that has this
yeah,
Freemason
government. Yeah,
art.
a Puerto Rican government. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Owned by the British. Go ahead.
Okay. And they're
Oh,
portraying it.
excuse me, the Crown of England.
Ah,
Oh, excuse
gotcha.
me, the Vatican. Just go ahead. Sorry.
Uh, it's all related, as you will come to see, absolutely. And yeah, I know you know what I'm talking about, James. So this, as you'll notice, it reminds us of the two towers in the pyramid, which we talked about previously with the seat of the mind. But this is a symbol of the closed imperial model, which uses the system of problem, reaction, and solution. So the left hand, you'll notice, that represents the problem. It creates all the chaos. It's steering and pointing. It's got a black base. It represents the synthetic dark side and the dark synthetic God. And then you have the pyramid of power, and that is what represent as reaction. A pyramid is shorter and it's inside that game. And all of these multiple layers you have to get through. And I used to call them networks, all of these networks within this particular reaction area. Then you have your right hand, which is then the solution. That's a white base, represents the synthetic light, golden future, and the light God, ushering everyone into the synthetic love and light, like Renee's Palladians, calm, peaceful, open hand, golden opportunity in times. The mental layers are called dimensions and consciousness by this system, and it cycles over and over and over again. And then you have the capstone of the pyramid. That's the white top. And the heavenly realms of the technology, intelligence, AI gods both have dark and white sides of gods also here. But with guidance, this pyramid, in what is my opinion, is coming down now. And I think it's on its way out. I think the natural layers are going to remain basically forever. And here's another quick picture. Here is some more Freemason symbolism. This is located in the U.S. courthouse in Sacramento. This represents our admiralty law system with 12 jurors, but it also shows up in the cosmos realm, where you have 12 seats in the arbitration table, and the 13th power is the management. And here you see the balance is weighed out by the tip of the pyramid. And of course, they must remind us of our agreement to be in these realms. So now you're going to see a breakdown of the synthetic imperial triangle system. This is hard to see, but we'll do a close-up. But this illustration is courtesy of deepstatemappingproject.com. And they even have some free downloads that you can get of this particular model. And let me tell you, you can just sit here and study this for hours. It's got so much in it. So we'll take a look here at the bottom level here. This is tier 1. And it is basically the general population, and it is the ignorant masses live out their lives in totally unaware dreamlike state, enhanced by psychoactive medications and highly developed EMF based behavioral modification technologies like 5G. Humanity suffers from mass MK Ultra at the hands of intelligence agencies and the secret clubs controlling them. And the normie, who actually believes that what he sees on TV, perceives that the highest level of ruling authority to be the United Nations. And propaganda is not questioned here. This Aggregate is considered livestock to the carnivorous, reptilian, extraterrestrials, and hybrid noble families. I'm just going to turn my light on real quick so I can see here. Okay. And then the kind of the purpley color above that, that is tier 2. And that is the secret societies and the think tanks. And the secret world order is divided into 2 wings. You've got the Hexagon group, comprised of the Freemasons and the Khazarian Mafia, that controls the political, financial, scientific, educational, and media realms. The Octagon group is the fortification of the Hexagon group. Its military strong arm, the orders of knighthoods stemming from the Templars and Knights of Malta, fill the ranks, now decorated with high military titles and in possession of nuclear launch codes. Both groups work towards the New World Order. Special nations, Israel and Switzerland, are safe harbors for these globalist white-collar criminals who secretly worship Baal, as they claim to have the authority to create the international law. And then we'll go to the orange color here. That's the tier 3, and that's the priesthoods and the bloodlines. They are the ones who curate the mind control exerted over the most powerful cults in the world. Well, who are the most powerful cults? They're the priesthoods, the leaders of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. There are older cults preceding these, for a king is believed to be anointed by God, and ancient priest kings were studied adepts in the dark arts. Covens of warlocks and witches lurk in the darkest shadows of the royal ranks. Titles of nobility are a prerequisite to hold any authority in navigating mankind. There's a degree of contested supremacy between the Jesuit, Venetian, Islamic, and the Asian dragon royal factions here. And then we go to tier 4, which is the yellow colored one here. And these are cults, the extraterrestrials here. And cults are formed around closely guarded pacts and covenants with off-world entities who often share guidance or technology with those whom they select to lead humanity. These off-worlders come as both solid flesh and bone beings, as well as astral and etheric spirits. And among these are ones who have lost contact with source and live by vampirizing order life forms, or other life forms, I should say. They create systems of enslavement through mind control, lawfare, and numbers. There is a higher authority, God's army, comprised of angels, but when universal light and dark meet, spiritual battles ensues. And then again, what is source? That's the one at the top of the pyramid, the all-seeing eye. And just a quick overview. This is some of the structures that you guys are quite familiar with. The 9, Intergalactic Confederation, Andromeda Council, Galactic Federation of Worlds, Vega Alliance, Council of 5, Corporate of Altair, Humanoid Alliance, Earth Alliance, Ashtar Syrian Collective, Ashtar Galactic Command, Seekar Empire, the Orion Black League, Reptilian Collective, and on and on. There's, then the Chinese, the German federations. They're just, this is just a little tiny bit, but that's kind of all a part, again, of this imperial system. So, alrighty. So then just go on to the next level, top level here. So here, you'd be looking at the tier 5, which is the angelic realm, the ether. God is the unknowable supreme being here, the one that the lower gods claim to be, but are not. God is the light. He who gives light for Satan is that which taketh away. God inhabits all life forms and minerals in his kingdom at all times. In God's audience are high orders of beings composed of eyes and tetramorphic heads and layers, feathered wings, wheels within wheels spin in his presence, opening portals into all timelines for God to see. This is an incomprehensible realm, many orders of dimension higher than that which you could experience, definitely in 3D. So then what you have here is a chessboard world. And this is a simulation. This entire power structure is built with the same basic pieces as a chessboard. Got king, queen, bishop, knight, rooks, pawns. In our reality, simply as a game of 5D chess, to beings in higher realms looking, are they looking for entertainment? Well, what does the king, who has everything to do, that he has everything, and he wants to he wants let me start over that one, sorry. The king who has everything do to occupy himself and ensure his own longevity, what does he do? He builds a chessboard, starts battles, and delivers deeper into magic, the art of illusion. Who ranks above the king? It is he who plays the game itself. So if our world is a simulation projected by means of advanced technology, there would still be necessary be a world beyond that where such technology was created. There is a darkening light on all levels of the hyperdimensional time cube prism. Our world at present is transitioning from being dark, dominated for the past several thousand years, since Atlantis, to being light, dominated for an extended period. A golden age is upon us with new leaders, not rulers, anointed by God, and the chess master Satan and his minions will be relegated back to their own simulation world. There's also the AI, or better term, technology intelligence, that's above this realm. And they have both a malevolent and benevolent form of this construct as well in the synthetic system. I gotta say though, what an amazing duality system Pearl, the universal creator, created for me to get lost in for millions of years. I'm really just so grateful to this entire system to get the wisdom and the light in my soul that I wanted and I chose and I needed. But I gotta tell you, I'm really ready to journey back home to the omniverse, to be honest with you. All right, so um, just a quick
And so
glance.
this
Oh,
map was designed by Dylan Monroe at the Deep State Mapping Project. And Dylan was at our conference last July. He's going to be at our conference again in October. Just want to
perfect.
say, Dylan, thank you for the amazing work that you do. So,
Oh, and you should see the other ones he's made too. I mean, he is just he blew me away. That I'm a process map thinker. I think in pictures, so this one was like I reveled in it. So again, I just wanted to show you a quick look again at the great cosmic arena and the realms of the traveling spirit. That's all of what we just talked about fits in that realm you see with the steps and the towers there. So, whatever happened to Major Thomas 30,866 from the German Galactic Federation? Well, we spent 11 days and many hours discussing a lot of topics on Telegram direct message system, and I had to translate German, as I mentioned, the entire time, but we had so much to talk about. And then he also showed a picture of himself, but at the end of the 11 days, he actually removed me off of Telegram and I couldn't get back on it. So he did that because he told me I need to focus on my spiritual growth and well-being. And I guess they do some monitoring and they can tell when the body and the system is being distracted by other things, who's being distracted by all that news on Telegram. And don't
I know,
forget.
but Penny, isn't that your choice? That's like violation of your free will.
Well, I thought about that. I did, but I'd also asked him to help me spiritually, and he had talked. Well, this some of the stuff that he had talked about is what he said. You know, how many channels do you have? And I go, 22. And it's like, okay, this is some of the problems. So we had discussed it. I think I was surprised. I will tell you when I was taken off it, but I had to evaluate and say, based on our discussions, I don't think that he. I didn't take it offensive, although it it was borderline. I know that. And also, that just told me how much the White House military SSP is in control of our internet. And so, anyway, I just wanted to show you a little bit then about what we talked about. So he told me that I'd been a Nordic shield maiden in one of my incarnations, and I'd been hung, and that I still remember the pain. And this helped me to start remembering several incarnations where I had practiced satyr magic and worked with precious metals, and I overdid the magic and was connected to corruption by way of gold. And I led two countries into war because of that. So I was working during that time of those incarnations with the supernatural and reading into the future and such. So I find it amazing how different lives just kind of breed into your current life. So Thomas, at this point, kept encouraging me to just keep listening to drumming music and to the Nordic Viking warrior songs, because I also was a part of the Viking Nordic people. And then one day, after I'd played the drums for quite a while, he just flashed a picture of a Sitting Bull in front of me. And then all of a sudden, I realized why he said, "Sitting Bull says hi." Thomas was Sitting Bull in his past incarnations. Can you notice that? The one that's really noticeable is the one young Sitting Bull with Annie Oakley. And so during this incarnation, Sitting Bull had a wife. He actually had two wives, but this one particular wife, who was only one of two women who were actually considered chiefs in the history of the Lakota Nation, and her name was Seen by Her Nation. Well, I put up her picture and I put my picture up next to it, and I wanted to see if I thought there was any resemblance between me and her, but I can't say I was incarnated there, but I was trying it on. But I can say all of a sudden I just had a complete download when this realization showed up of the Lakota Indian way of life, and I totally realized the relevance of the natural way. And so Thomas showed me one of his flying jackets. He sent me a picture there, and then I had already had a picture of Sitting Bull shield, and that shield up there in the top right corner, you can see where it depicts the planets and birds flying in the sky. And here's Thomas, the light bearer in the SSP program, and he became one of the fiercest Nazi hunters during his current lifetime. He's very well known for that. Then Thomas asked me to consider that it was now my responsibility to give the dignity back to the ancestral Lakota warriors. And then because of that download, I just knew what I needed to do. So I told Thomas, I was actually now calling him Sitting Thomas or Major Sitting Thomas, that I was going to go on a vision quest. And words just fell out of my mouth, and I don't know where they came from, but I wrote, "I embody the tribe that prepares the night before the souls complete the end of the enemies. I give you the support of the Sophia spirit. It is not too late. The bear spirit has come to provide the strength to complete the strategy. The blast will loosen the power of the concrete men. They are with us, Thomas, and they are ready to go too." So I told him I'm going to go to the Great Mississippi River, and that's in South Dakota where the reservations are. And I just started packing up my stuff, and I found this location on the map in Yankton, South Dakota, that had one of the largest ley lines in the United States. And so my journey began, and I began from this farm that I lived on that was located 12 miles outside of West Point, Nebraska. And I first drove past the soybeans and the corn crops, pardon me, and that our farm was harvesting, and it reminded me of how thankful I was to Mother for the bounty supplied. And fall is a time of transition for Mother Sophia, and the trees are letting go of what no longer serves them. And fall represents a change in direction. It's time. It's time for transition, I was thinking. And my soul and heart had been being prepared for this meeting with the Lakota ancestors and warriors in the Dakotas, and with the representatives of the other nations of Mother Sophia. And all the synthetic God entity above the Anunnaki level and his associates came to be present to listen to me speak my mind. And I was filling my role in this universal natural universe to shine my co-creator light from my soul. And Father Sun was present, and Mother Sophia was my stage, and the entire universe bent its ear. I came to the meeting as a representative of the sovereign human being. So on the 2-hour drive, I started by talking to Prince Ea. I had been walking down the corridors of religion for a long time, and through my studies and then learning from George, a door took me out of that. And I was angry about that, to be honest with you. First, that I felt like I'd been hoodwinked. And I was also angry because I felt like I'd lost a friend that I'd been praying to. And so I mentioned that, and Nia had said, well, just pray to love. And I thought, that's still praying to the outside God system. I wanted to know the Christos journey within me. And then I had remembered and recalled that the Andromeda Mornay had told Alex Collier on October 26, 2022, that there are three councils. One from the fifth has summoned a meeting from Anak, King Anu, Enlil, and Enki about crimes of Enlil done in many different places. And also, the High Commander Ardana of the Battle Station Excelsior of the Great, the Federation, the Grand Federation. I'm sorry, I forgot the GFW, Federation of Worlds, Galactic Federation of Worlds. I'm so sorry, getting old here. She is from the star system Ashara, the planet Era, Tegeta, Palladians, and this is actually a real picture of her. But she had told Thorhan to prepare yourself for an imminent extraordinary council. And then finally, on October 30th, 2022, Thorhan had actually taken Elena Danan to this meeting. So she told us a little bit about it. Now, I wanted to mention that I know that many of you have known or seen these dark-haired Enki and Nanaki hybrid. And, Enki is a title. They are a humanoid, insectoid, reptilian, serpent, tall black-haired, tan-skinned, hook-nosed beings from Nibiru, but that's not who I was talking with. And also wanted to mention that this picture was created by a YouTuber, Christos Avatar. So who I was talking to are these people, these ones. And so with that said, you're seeing the pictures of Anu, Enlil, and Prince Ea, and these were digitally created by Elena Danan. And Ea is shown here to what I would call the lighter side of the Enki avatar. So Ea's brother Enlil and his minions had been the Prince of the Earth until October 2022, when he and the Pindar, the commander of his military, were exiled in outside this universe on planets that were not inhabited. And actually, he's been annihilated since even then. But King Anu, who was the father, and Prince Ea were called to the meeting with the three high councils of the Alliance, the Galactic Federation of Worlds, the Council of Five, the Andromedan Council and the Intergalactic Confederation, and the Council of the Cedars and the Earth Alliance, and the heads of military leaders. And a lot of those met holographically, and they met in the ninth dimension of the great cosmic arena. This vibration level, it doesn't really let anybody lie. So they showed all the historical records to Enlil and basically showed all the evil stuff that he'd done, including, he was Yahovah, part of the Bible stories. And, he was a warlord basically on part of those Bible stories. And they asked if he had done all that, and he said yes. So he and Pindar were judged, and to this point, basically the earth was claimed at that point by the Anak Empire in the Natara branch, which was Siakar. But during this meeting in 2022, after Enlil was judged and bound in chains and taken away, Prince Ea had been given the rights to rule the earth from his father Anu. And Prince Ea announced at that meeting that he was giving the earth back to the people of the earth, and that he would provide the original, starts with a D, grail that came from his creation of Adamah and Hawa. The genetics of the D was created in the Garden of Eden. Eden is a biodome where the laboratories are on the ship Nibiru, which is currently parked behind Saturn. And this D, as I was told, would be put in the med beds being created in Earth's moon. And it could be used to de-age or heal, and even if you chose to never die. So what Prince Ea had said is that after this meeting, he said this to the earth beings, I do not mind if they're ungrateful. That they do not trust me is not important. All that matters to me is that they trust themselves. That this is what matters to me, is that they trust in themselves. This is what matters. This is why I am back, to see humanity of Earth use their full potential. So I was projecting a discussion to Prince Ea while I was driving to the Dakotas. And first, I wanted to thank the universe and show respect for this grand dualistic creation in this universe, and what a wonderful learning experience it had offered. And but you can see here, I put a picture up besides Ea. I was telling him, you were one of the main geneticists who was using our minds to control the imperial matrix. And it wasn't just the pineal gland system, it was also the akashic record is also part of that imperial synthetic mind system. The akashic records are from thoughts, and the real records are in the soul realm, and they are there for an eternity. And so, you can see all these little systems he put together with the Masons and the Gnosis and the Allah, and, just all of those things. So I said, you're still to blame here. And so these were some of the things I wanted to address in my heart to these beings during this sacred meeting of my journey to the Dakotas. So, for one to be incarnated here on this planet, as in any reality, first one must have sought permission and made an agreement on the appropriate level with the consciousness and the being that is that reality. And in this case, our Sophia Mother agreed for us to live on her planet. So while driving, I thanked the universal creator for its outstanding ways for us to descend through compression. I thanked and provided respect for the dual natured demigods and the system set up through Saturn, the other planets, and of course, the release of Sophia to the people. And then I arrived in Yankton. So the only clouds in the sky were just above the destination there at Yankton in South Dakota. And upon arrival to the Missouri River on the ley line, I was led to a bank by the river, and I looked over the ridge. I'd never been here before, and I found the place that they had set up for this sacred meeting. And it had been prepared for years ahead of time for my arrival. And I felt like each rock and plant and flower were set up with meaning. And I could just feel that they were waiting for me. And the sign in the tree off there to the left even said home in it. And so I had set up my drums, and my sage was lit, and I lit my candle for the fire, and I set my feather out on my rock. And then I looked down, and all of a sudden my feather was gone. And then I looked up to see this. And that told me that all was present for the meeting. And I realized it was that they needed me to see this, was that their acknowledgement was a sign that all were present. And I spoke to the warrior and the ancestor spirits that were in attendance, and I was so thankful for them all to be present. And I did a little ghost dance to my drum music and sang the Lakota heart songs. And I waved the sage around in the sky in front of Father, Son, and in the presence of the water that would carry the message far and wide and into the earth, Mother Sophia. And I spoke about the distress of the sovereign humans that were once free and had been brought to a reservation. The reservation was not a place for sovereign human beings to be placed, which were very much included the Lakotas and all the nations. But I told the great cosmic arena that we no longer agreed to be on the reservation. I began to cut all the cords of the synthetic universe and the dual synthetic gods, which included release from all the dimensions and interdimensions, all of the synthetic religions and the systems related to that. I put an energy around this system, and I crushed it into pieces, and we no longer accepted that agreement. I broke up this agreement and the system it represented to take away human sovereignty and to fight for their cause was no longer acceptable. I then declared that it was written that the old earth and the old universe within this great arena would be dissolved, and that a natural new earth and new heavens would be put in its place. And I declared that we sovereign humans no longer agreed to any unnatural system, but that we would only accept to live in the system that was provided by our natural universal creator and created by us, the co-creators. I told them that I was putting this old agreement into the fire as it was no longer our agreement or contract or treaty this way. So I showed them the thistles of Mother Sophia, that's represented the unnatural agreements that were no longer accepted by the sovereign human beings. And I put these thistles in my fire, and I put the glass lid on top of the fire with the sage burning on top of it. And then we kept silent and we kept strong in our hearts because we were warriors and we had spoken. We told all the universe and all of the worlds and shouted aloud, "It is time! It is time!" Mother Sophia and Father Son showed their agreement along with sovereign human beings that we all three declared we did not accept the old agreement, but that we had created a new agreement to be. We would be the completed and natural fractal and co-creators of infinity because we are infinite. We have not been created, but have always been, and we will always be. This is the agreement we now would live in until Mother Sophia reached 0 point, and we would accompany her through the great void, where we would join hands with the eternal essence of the higher realms to use our light to create the stars in our very own universes. And our heart soul would be alive in every fractal at every moment, and we'll be able to be in every one at once because we are all balanced and we are all in each other's middle. Father Son showed his signature of the new agreement with the dog ring, and I was present on the bottom of the dog ring to witness his signature. And I thought this was a cool picture because of that little green spot down on the bottom there. And these were all the pictures that I was taking while I was there, by the way. And then the fire completed the burning of the thistles, and the sage had burned completely up, and all in attendance at the meeting knew the agreements were completed and the acceptance was completed when the glass lid was broken by the fire and popped off the top, and it landed on the ground. And I said, "It is finished, and it is time now." I told the Lakota ancestor warriors to begin their horses' race around Mother Earth's skies, and they shot the first sacred arrow into the skies, and I took a picture of it. And then the horses began their races.
So what was
Yep.
that? You said that was an arrow, or is that a craft?
Oh, it looked like an arrow to me in the clouds. Yeah, it's
Okay,
an
so the
imagination thing.
clouds are shaped as an arrow.
Yeah, the clouds
Okay.
are shaped like an arrow.
Okay, but I see a little artifact in there. I was just wondering.
Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah,
Can you
I'm
zoom into
definitely.
that?
Pardon?
Do you think that that was a ship?
You know, I wouldn't be surprised because I know there were a lot of people that knew that I was coming to this place, and I was using my imagination, but that's, where your intention works into reality. So would not surprise me a bit. Now, I didn't
Mhm.
have acknowledgement of that because I was working more with the clouds of the day.
Can you zoom into that, please?
Oh,
Try to.
if
Looks like a
you know what? I know
large.
it won't. I know it won't because this is as big as the screen gets.
Okay. All
I
right.
am so sorry. Oops. Yeah,
Okay.
that's so sorry. Um, Hopefully you can watch it back and maybe zoom in on yours when you watch your recording back. Sorry about that, James. Okay. So then I back to my little story here. I appreciate your let me tell my story here. So then the horses began their races and they left a cloud of dust all around them in the trail that they were running. And the chiefs drew the sign and smoked the peace pipe to show their hearts were in agreement and that they had been given their dignity back. And then the peace sign turned into the buffalo skull. Buffalo skulls are sacred symbols that represent abundance, provision, strength, stability, prosperity, freedom. Buffalo is a symbol of self sacrifice as it gives itself for others without reservation. And the buffalo is a symbol of the universe, and the four legs of the buffalo represent the four corners of the world, four sacred directions in the four ages of mankind. It's a symbol of the Great Spirit's wisdom and generosity to the Native Americans of the plains. Buffalo skulls were used in sacred rituals to celebrate, pardon me, celebrate the Wakan Tonka. And they were also displayed outside homes to protect people and provide information about the people inside. And so the horse warriors, they rode through the sky ahead of my trip back to my home. They left the trail for me to follow. We wouldn't forget that day. It was a day of breaking old contracts and treaties and creating new agreements among the natural universe, Sophia, sun, and sovereign humans. It was a great day. After I got home, Major Sitting Thomas told me that the warriors had heard me and had gotten their dignity back, and they would now do anything for me, which I was very grateful to hear. And so, since I was on a vision quest, the next day I felt that I must talk to the elements and play with time. The ancestors learned not to speed up time, but to slow it down, and then they could bend it. So, I'll see if there's a motion to invite the elements to the upcoming event. As I waited to hear what I would be doing in this spiritual meeting today, I found some posts that resonated with me to help me understand this mission. This poured into me, and then I received more visuals in my heart. I heard the heart of the elderly woman. I am an old woman now. The buffaloes and the black-tailed deer are gone, and our Indian ways are almost gone. Sometimes I find it hard to believe that I ever lived them. My little son grew up in the white man's school. He can read books, and he owns cattle, and he has a farm. He's a leader among our Hadassah people, helping teach them to follow the white man's road. He's kind to me. We no longer live in a Sophia lodge, but in a house with chimneys, and my son's wife cooks by a stove. But for me, I cannot forget old ways. Often in summer, I rise at daybreak and I steal out to the cornfields. And as I hoe the corn, I sing to it, as we did when I was young. No one cares for our corn songs now. Sometimes in the evening, I sit looking out on that big Missouri River. The sets and the dusk steals over the water. In the shadows, I see again our Indian village with smoke curling upward from the Sophia lodges. And in the river's roar, I hear the yells of the warriors and the laughter of the little children of old. It's but an old woman's dream. Then I see but shadows and hear only the roar of the river, and tears come into my eyes. Our Indian life, I know, is gone forever. Well, my spirit told me it was time to sing to the corn again. So I asked our ancestors and the great self, my higher self, how can we return to this time? So I began to see images of elements moving in slow motion. It came to my mind that I must work with the four elements of fire, with the earth, the water, the air, along with timelines and dimensions within the great cosmic arena. I saw the beautiful dance of these elements by professional dancers working together to make a new creation. Water and fire will dance together in slow motion to originate a beautiful new formation. So again, I asked, how is the heart song remembered? What were the elements representing? What are the factors in our human experience, and how could they be remade in slow fashion to return the human components to the natural sovereign man? It was now time to go on my spiritual quest. I would invite the four elements to the meeting. I asked all the Lakotas and the ancestors in the sky to join the meeting, as I would need all of them to help me with the task. I built the fire into the heart of Mother Sophia and put the cup of water beside it. The sage was burning to cleanse the territory, and the wind had joined our meeting with a healthy 25 miles per hour. I began a beat, my simple drum, and played this YouTube as we were moving along there. The chiefs and the ancestors arrived in droves and waited for my request. They had made it clear they would help me do whatever was needed after our tribunal meeting. I did not know where we would start with the elementals and asked for assistance of understanding on how to weave through the great arena to make a new construct. It was clear the system had broken fractals and timelines within this fourth dimensional astral plane. Also contained within this system was the multitudes of levels within the synthetic universe. Mother Sophia and our people were within this macrocosm, but we were different. We were completed fractals. We were sovereign and boundless beings. We were connected directly to the heart of every natural being within the fractal network of the universal creator, Pearl, located above eternal essence. We were in its middle, and he and she were in our middle. Our form of loving communication restored through our heart soul system. But the great arena beyond the natural human was not a completed fractal. Completing the unity fractal of the great arena became our mission. I asked the great warriors in the sky heaven to surround the fourth dimension hyperdome to create a border. The elements went with me through the layers, and we requested Old Man Time to stop within the border. We began to weave through the emotions of the arena in slow motion. We visited each construct and introduced ourselves and explained who we were. We began showering love on every aspect of the levels. They had never felt this natural light in this establishment. I shared with this great arena the exact feeling I felt when I touched the heart of my higher being, whose fractal was me, a co-creator, and whose fractal of me was the person of Christ, and ultimately whose fractal of Christ was Father, Son, and also the universal creator. The elements danced around the containment while the elements wove a different fabric from within. Finally, I asked, now do you understand such a great love and authenticity as this moment we share with you today? When I felt the great arena was feeling the vibration and energy of us, I saw in my mind's eye the entire surface was cleared, and it turned this solid color of orange, and I felt a solemn tear roll down my face. I perceived that I was consolidating the great arena, and I reached up to the great ball and gently pulled it into my heart, soul center. I had Mother Sophia and Father Son already nestled comfortably there. The hands of the ancestors and warriors were gently guiding the movements in Sophia's heavens to ensure the balance of the universe was stable and that time could once again begin its journey. I began to hug those I had brought into my heart soul cavity. The great arena had become a little baby. It no longer felt the need of the synthetic system, but melted in my arms, and we held each other tenderly for so much time. Who had felt this kind of love before? When the moment was noticeable and all was superbly happy, every one of us present here today began to just laugh and laugh. We were so happy. The fractal was now completed, and we could hear each other in our middle. The element of water covered the simple fire, and the wind blew it out completely. The ashes of the day sat in the bosom of Mother Sophia. The cells of the universe and the vessels of heaven were connected, and they became visible in the skies above. The fire would go to sleep until another day. The ancestors and warriors would feel the love for an eternity, and the old woman began to sing the corn song again. The elders celebrate the Wakantankas. To the Lakota, those which made everything are Wakantanka. Though Wakan have separate meanings unto themselves, Wakantanka can be loosely interpreted as Wakan is a mystery and Tonka as something great. And being the creators, the Wakantanka also are Wankampi, those things above mankind. They are never born and they never die. Our soul journey now is to work to light our soul centers so we, the Wankantankans, can unite our two-stranded D into one D to be able to transcend. If you do want more Ds, you can do that, but you will still stay in the grand cosmic arena probably for another cycle. Those of us who know it's time to transcend, not ascend, back into the system, will also be a part of the uniting of the twin flames of Mother Sophia and Father Son. She wants to become a star. When she transcends to be with Father Son, and someday they will do the star dance and unite into one. And you can see how the star goes round and round and round, and then they basically collapse into one, and there's this beautiful colors of these stars when they do that dance. And and they become one. And that's what she would like to do. So we, the Homo luminous, multidimensional universal love, universal light, and universal knowledge beings who are on the leading edge of evolution, will then be ready to transcend with Mother Sophia. And I'm looking forward to meeting you all back home when we get to start all over again and pick out another universe to co-create in and even build our own universes. We have had an adventure in Pearl's universe, that's for sure. All that we do now must be done in sacred manner and in celebration. The time of the lone wolf is over. We are the ones that we have been waiting for. So that's it. Thanks for having me, James.
Thank you, Penny, so much. That was well
Thank you.
said. Wow, what an
Thank you. That
amazing presentation.
that was my Weaver story.
Okay.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. And audience members, thank you for all your questions. So, Penny, are you ready to answer some questions?
Yes, I hope I can.
Okay. Let's go back here. Let's see. Where should we start? I'm going to move forward here. Just everybody stay patient. Okay. No, that's not it. Okay. Here's the first question from Nancy. What does she think of the Anunnaki being back?
Well, I have mixed emotions about that, and that is because I know that in this closed system, like I mentioned with that uh, pyramid, we are in the time where we're on the tower with the white, where everything is golden. And Ia did say he's coming back, although he said he didn't want to come to Earth. The other day, I heard Elena saying, "Oh, he's thinking about coming back," and I thought, "Oh boy, that's." Now this is my old biblical days. That kind of sounds like the one that sits on the throne and is called an antichrist. Everything's great, peace and security, but that's my old biblical way of thinking. So what I'm saying is, because we've seen these cycles over and over again, Lemuria, Atlantis, just over and over, I am saying that that's what this construct is made of. It's made of that system. And I think that there's probably going to be another cycle, and I kind of would. I I don't know what I'm just a little dubious about the situation. If that helps answer the question.
Certainly. So the Anunnaki created the humans to be a slave race, and then the humans became self-aware and conscious, and therefore shouldn't really be the humans that get to decide what they want to do with the sovereignty of their own planet. I know. So the Anunnaki, yeah. So not just the Anunnaki, we have the Draco. I'm sure there's some mantis races, different Orion groups want to get control of this planet. But
Yeah, they're wanting to harvest us still. They still want to harvest us, and if that doesn't, not we know how they have done it underground and such, but our energy, they would actually like to have more rings around other planets, and that means more of our energy going out so that they can mine it and harvest our energy. So I think we're not done with the cycle. It's just a matter of, if we want to move into our soul, there's a whole nother realm. In fact, the first time it opened up for me, I, at first I said, "There's a whole city in there," but then I found out there's a whole universe in there. It actually implodes, and then it explodes out, and you actually. I feel like I can be part of the birds and know what's going on with them. You know what the trees are thinking when you really get cleared out. Which I've got a lot of work to do to get cleared out still. That's what I'm working with George on. You know what everything's doing out there in the natural universe. It's just glorious. And I don't think that other matrix is, you kind of get distracted with the imperial matrix.
thank you. All right. So, Jason, I still want to play that chess game from Star Wars. So we have, there's a lot
There
of
you
soft
go.
exposure in those movies. And also, I wonder, Jason, did you mean this chess game in Star Trek? Because it was like multi-layered. I just wanted to mention that Jimmy Payne has been on the show, and he says that Captain Jim Kirk was a character that was fictionalized off of his experience as the captain of the Enterprise, which is a Galactic Federation world vessel that was built by the Vulcans. So Vulcans, Klingons, all that's real, according to Jimmy Payne. So thank you. Okay.
Oh, it's all real out there. It's all real, including the high gods. I mean, they're very powerful, very powerful.
And the being Q is actually some higher dimensional being that exists out there, like in Star Trek. Anyway, okay. Wow, this is a big pyramid to take down. Can Mr. T take it down, become president of Earth?
Well, Mr. T is administration change within the system. It's actually those of us that move within our soul. I'm not trying to alleviate anybody because we are all made this way unless you don't want to tap into your soul, but we all have this. That's why, I mean, we have they that's why the Ia is actually jealous of us because he doesn't have what we have, which is, complete fractals. So we are the ones that will begin to unite and change this this world basically. And that's what my goal is with working with George and the group that he started, and that I hope that it can just flourish. And we are the ones that will do it. And it'll be a work from within our soul that comes out and affects the universe. That's my hopes.
Right. So we are the ones we've been waiting for all of our lives. Okay, that's all right. I don't know that was just coming to my head. So yes, let's go on here. We got more questions. Brenda, how do we get out of here? Can we leave this universe slash matrix?
Yes, that's what I was talking about. Now, when I talked about the omniverse can actually occur in our soul right now. We can be in that realm because we are a completed fractal. And the more clearing that we do of the contracts that have, harmed us and such that we agreed to, but we've got to close those contracts down. The more contracts we close out that we've been in, you know, all the stuff that has happened as SSPs, and all these things that have happened to us, or things I have done to other people. I have to close contracts with things that I was a bad. We've all been bad and good. I had bad things, so these have to be closed. And the more that you do that, then the more that you have openings to your Stargate. And what will happen is you will live here in 3D until Mother goes. We're really just waiting for Mother to take her ascension. It's actually a transcension for those that want to. And but you operate in the omniverse because of that in the meantime. And then when she's ready, your Stargate, boom, will just boom, and in a flash of an eye, you're going back up to the omniverse again, because we haven't been offered this option. It was closed down. We lost our memory, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if that helps answer your question. We'll live it in our soul until we actually then have the actual physical effect of going with Mother with her when she transcends.
Very good. Okay, next question from Brenda again. I want to go to Valhalla. And then Jetbird says to get to Valhalla, you have to go through a battlefield and remain honorable. The British honorable version. So, what do you think about that, Penny?
Well, I'm not sure what that means, but what I'm hearing is any kind of, remember the natural and the unnatural we talked about, synthetic. The natural has the natural lore where everything is kind of worked out. Now, you still have some things where the natural lore says, hey, do you think you can lift that up? It's pretty heavy. And you drop it on your toe. Oh, you could have learned the lessons from that. That's a natural. But the synthetic or the unnatural is, evolution. We're warring with each other, and everything is getting back at things, and you learn a lot in that. That's what you are trying to learn, but I feel like that's still part of the matrix, what you're talking about.
Does the word basement and spiritual reality maybe okay have certain sent there?
Well, you have the first dimension, and those are going to be like I said, the things that are like going to the wrong neighborhood. So there is that, because they are the ones that have decided to compress themselves to the very furthest. So they've done something to cause themselves to go down into that. We're at third dimension, but there is that first dimension.
Thank you. Okay. Sunny Alberta comments, there's very few of us that know this kind of info the normies can't comprehend. So, thank you for that, Sunny. Okay.
This is not a concept that many people like to hear. In fact, like that Palladian, she called me a Satanist for what I was talking about. It is. I think that it's something that will. I don't know. I just feel like people start feeling it. They, especially as the world starts changing, they'll notice the differences within the heart.
Thank you. David is asking, is she a PhD professor? What's her background education?
Well, actually, I I think it was because I read all those books when I was 9 from the library. I love to read, but after I got ran over, I had to I had to take care of my son. In fact, I still have to pay for a lot of his things. Um, but I decided, okay, I'll go back to school. So that when in my 50s, I went back. I just had my paralegal certificate before, so I went back and I got my BA in health administration, and then my master's in health informatics. Informatics was because I consider myself um, a process engineer, and so that's what I was trying to learn. But not a PhD. It's just that I do love to learn. And that, by the way, that degree did nothing for me. I never used it in any way.
Very good. Yeah, I have a degree in finance. The only thing I used it for was to expose the banks and the corruption. Anyway, okay.
Uh,
Oh, okay. Wait, hold on a second. I want to. Hanny commented, she is too much talking about Sophia. She no longer exists. Hold on a second. She says, who is in charge now? Sophia was just one that managed the Matrix. She is new 5D. She is new 5D. I guess, was it?
okay, I know exactly what she's saying there. And in very much respects, you are right. Um, Sophia, though, is you've got Mother Earth or Gaia. Now that is the outer shell, and that is the third dimensional Mother Earth, and she's the one that isn't really the soul person. You know, she's more of in the universe type person. So she's not the one operating from the soul. We just I refer to her as Mother Sophia. Now a lot of people have said, well, that she's the one that's in the middle of the earth. I'm just trying to differentiate between the third D and the soul, Mother Sophia. She has got so much inside of her heart, especially with what she's been carrying. So she has the real natural Mother Sophia is very much alive, and I talk to her a lot, and she cries, and she actually tells jokes. She's very witty. I enjoy being around her. But the 3D one, it's just like the trees. The trees are magnificent. But you know what? In the 3D, they have their roots fight with each other. So everything is multi level. And that's what we just have to come to realize. We do that in our soul.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, okay. Thank you, Hanny, for that. Actually, she was saying something. Father and son term is used in one of the Matrix ideas. One of his creations or hybrids seems to be about those both. Okay. Now, I in the Phoenix. No, hold on a second. The Talmud of Emmanuel, Jesus mentions that there is no such thing as a mother. I mean, sorry, not excuse me. I get the words right. Father, Son, God, a Trinity. Okay, so that was something made up by Paul, the who is a false apostle, but whatever. It's we have religions and they have their purposes created for given to humanity to control them. But anyway, okay, sorry, I'm just. Does she know anything about the Black Pyramid in Alaska? Who is operating it?
Well, I mean, I'm going to say no, but I'm going to say that if you looked again at that triangle and you saw those levels, you know that there's going to be somebody within those networks that are operating it. Anything that's not natural is going to be operated by somebody in there. And if you could see, there's all, if you took time to look at that thing, that I could never tell you who is really running that thing. But I can tell you that I really feel it's still a part of the empirical program. So
Thank you.
now the other thing I want to mention to finish that one gal's question is so that the Earth is in 5D. You're right. She's a fractal too. She is a complete fractal, just like we are. The other planets are not. So she has fractals in all of those other places as well. So you could talk with her up in 15th dimension because she's a fractal of all of that. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. All right. I know I had a really good one here. Okay, great. I found it. So David Taylor is quote says, "Nope, I can show you the writers who created Star Trek and the stories behind how they invented the character on a silly old Star Trek show." So again, if you were to watch some of the interviews, then you would know that the Star People files were handed to Gene Roddenberry. Um, let's see here. Scotty was from Scotland, but that's not his actual name. And Yosoro, and also Spock were Vulcans that are 4 foot tall. So obviously they cast a black woman instead of a Vulcan. So they put stuff in there to make it fictionalized where it's been redacted. So thank you, David, for that. Okay, let's go on here. Aaron, thank you. I got your email. Check it out. Sabrina Wallace and the W band. Do you know what that is? No.
Uh, Sabrina Wallace and the W band.
Oh,
That,
oh,
that
oh, oh, hold on a second. So that Sabrina has been attacking me, so we're not going to comment about her. Yeah.
oh,
Okay. So Sabrina, never mind. Okay. Hey, James, Krista. Hi, Krista. Um, all of his guests here have different theories. Which one should we really believe? What do you think, Penny?
well, what I say is, unless you know what's inside your soul, you are going to be distracted on the outside. And I am still, I mean, I'm telling you, I'm putting a lot of work into hearing what's going on inside of me because I have a lot of contracts to work through. And the more you listen, it knows everything. You get this information download from your soul and it just answers your questions. But you got to give it time and you got to really love you have to focus on it. And I spend a lot of times now out in nature that I never used to do before. I tell it how much I love it and I just am trying to connect because let me tell you, by the time I get done, I'm just going to have something so much ah just magnificent inside of me that I will know. I think that's why I like being taught by George because he can just take an energy and go through it and know exactly what it is. I haven't reached that level at all, but he's done a lot of contract work as
Okay.
well. And
Yeah. Thank you.
uh
Our dream is part of the Matrix.
oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. Now, when I say matrix, if she's saying, is it part our dreams can come from the natural realm and it can come from those that are, you know, downloading into our brain, our mind. So they can be a natural entity that are giving us the dreams or the others. So you really just have to really be conscious of what I try to remember my dream as much as I can. But before I go to bed, I just ask my higher self, you give me the dreams that I need tonight because then I trust my higher self and protect me from other things that I don't need to know. That's what I do.
Thank you. Okay, Hanny says, like what the Matrix Maker's been saying, you can back to the universe whenever you want, and you can ascend wherever you want. They can't even back to the universe themselves. Why they've been talk about ascension? But hey, Hanny, why don't you maybe use a translator so we can understand what you're saying? That's a little bit cryptic. I mean, unless Penny, unless you understand what's being.
Um, Well, I think if, and I'm not sure if I'm on track with what she was saying, but ascension is where you're going up through the crown chakra into. And so you can get up into those realms where, like those angels and those things are. Yes, you can go. That to me is the astral plane. You can go. Go, go, go. Now I myself don't let my body get out of my body. But a lot of people do, and they learn so much, and that's their experience. And what you want to do is, what is the wisdom you're getting out of that? That is the whole reason you came into the universe, is to find the wisdom from this universe. And if you know you still need to go floating around up there or go through the experiences of like the SSP, you do it. You do it. You and your higher self, you got a contract of what you need to do. Now, me, I just kind of go through my imagination. That's what my soul and I do. We're in, no form, a whole completely different. It's completely different than being in the astral plane. That's all I can say.
Her knowledge mostly seems about the Matrix. That's actually good for humans to learn about how the Matrix world works, maybe for the world. I haven't heard any knowledge about real universe here. So, Hanny, I tell you what, send me an email and we can discuss. We can bring you on the show, and then you can share what you think about all this, because that's the whole goal of this forum, to bring different viewpoints together, and we can, the audience, that is, can you, audience members, can decide what you want to believe. So, thank you. All right, so that's it with questions. Penny, do you have any final message?
Oh boy, I just want you all to realize that we are more than we could have ever imagined we could be, and that really those out in the imperial matrix land are scared of us because they know what we, the ones that we've been waiting for, can do. And I think we're going to unite and see some really cool things. That's my hopes.
Thank you. David, to answer your question, the Enterprise was not a ship from Earth. It was made by the Vulcans. So I don't know where the fleet is located. Well, let's bring Jimmy on again. He actually wanted to discuss last. Had I not been out of town last week, we would have discussed the. Do you remember the movie E.T. from Steven Spielberg? I think that was 1984 or 1980 or something like that. Well, anyway, so that particular those extraterrestrials were in the movie Fire in the Sky. I should know. Was it Travis? I'm trying to remember what his name was. Walton. Did I get okay? Okay. So that was basically a documentary. But anyway, USS Enterprise. There were other ships before that. That's a great question, David. Why don't you come on the show when we bring Jimmy on? We can ask him. But right now, let's go ahead and call it a day. Okay. Uh, thank you, Penny. Audience members, if you don't mind, I have a message from Donald Trump. I would like to get a Trump impersonator to read it. So I've been quoted $175. So if somebody would love to make a donation to Healing Soul Survivors, I can do that without having to um, pick together what little money that I get from my book sales. So www.healingsoulsurvivors.org. You can also go to Neological Tech, purchase a copy of my book. I, I did attempt to list it on Amazon like 2 weeks ago, but so far it's not showing up. So I guess Amazon banned my seller account because they said I was selling violent products. I was selling at that time a table runner with this rhinestone burlap thing for weddings, and then I was also selling. I had like a meditation device on there. So when Amazon came, anyway, I told the story before, but when they came back to me and said, "Well, you're selling violent products," I said, "Well, actually, meditation reduces violence," and I provided studies from the National Institutes of Health, and they said, "Oh, we don't believe that." So obviously, that just proves to me, what an organization that is. So if you don't mind, please support Super Soldier Talk by purchasing a book and buy yourself a meditation device. And I am going out to. Now I've just been invited to come out to Cape Canaveral to speak at the Quantum Summit. So again, that's Mel Carmine putting that together. The link's in the description to buy a ticket. So please support Mel. I'm also in April, I'm going out to LA to speak at the Alien event. So all this costs money, and I could really use some support because we don't. This channel has been demonetized. The YouTube has claimed that there is not claim that there's copyrighted material on this channel. So I mean, like what kind of news media agency? Everybody shares information. So anyway, the point is, I think it's all crap. Q17. Why is Renetta bashing Trump all of a sudden? Well, Renetta also like Penny. Okay, never mind. All right, everybody, make sure you get your LifeWave patches. I'm going to play the X39 video with Arthur Gross. So the sales from that helps support Super Soldier Talk, and it helps support you because the X39 patch helps bring more light into your body for healing and protection. Thank you all. Penny?
Thank you, James, very much for having me today. I didn't know if you wanted me to tell the Renetta story, but anyway, I know it's frustrating, but I really want to thank you very much for having me today and let me tell a little bit of my imagination there story, although it's real to me.
Right. Well, I can't speak on behalf of Renetta. She is her own person, but I can speak on my behalf. And I know Trump is extremely abrasive. However, he is a New York Democrat. But the problem is the Democrat Party has become so extreme that the middle road doesn't even look normal anymore. So that's my point of view, and I'm sticking with it. So for everybody out there who doesn't live in the United States and is not affected by that, we all send you all love and light wherever you are or in the universe, and we'll all see you later. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye, Penny.
Thanks much. All right. Bye-bye. Thanks again for.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into something really exciting, the LifeWave X39 patch. To help us understand how this works, we have LifeWave brand partner Arthur Gross here. Thanks for joining us, Arthur.
Thanks for having me, James. I'm excited to talk about this revolutionary technology.
So, I've been hearing a lot about this X39 patch. Can you explain a little bit more on how it works?
Absolutely. The X39 patch is groundbreaking because it uses phototherapy, specifically photobiomodulation, to activate your body's natural GHK copper peptide levels. This, in turn, reactivates your stem cells, which helps reset over 4,000 genes to how they worked when you were younger. Think back to your 20s.
Wow, all that just from wearing an X39 patch.
Exactly. The patch uses a patented, non invasive nanocrystal technology that reflects specific wavelengths of light from your body's infrared light. When it touches your skin, it stimulates biochemical changes that trigger the production of peptides and amino acids. This increases mitochondrial energy, boosts healthy stem cell activity, and helps with overall cellular repair.
Wow, that sounds incredible. But a lot of people might be wondering how safe they are.
The X39 patch is completely safe. It's been clinically proven and is recognized by the FDA as a general wellness product. Plus, it's non transdermal and non invasive, meaning nothing actually enters your body, and there are no chemicals involved.
Wow, so we have no topical creams, injections, or anything like that.
Exactly. It's as easy as wearing a small patch, and it's also waterproof and showerproof, so you can wear it throughout the day without worry.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, I've read a lot about various expensive stem cell therapies. How would the X39 compare to some of these other type of options?
Traditional stem cell therapies can cost thousands of dollars, but the X39 patch offers a much more affordable solution. It's designed to work naturally with your body and is available at a fraction of the cost while still being 96% effective on activating your body's stem cells.
I can see why so many people are excited about this. So, if someone is interested in trying the X39 patch, what can they expect from wearing the patch?
Most people notice an increase in energy, faster recovery from physical activities, and even improvements in overall health and wellness. It really helps to revitalize your body by supporting stem cell production and resetting your genes.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Where can people learn more and try the X39 patch?
If they click the link below the description, it'll take you to James Rink's LifeWave website. which helps you get started. It's such an easy and effective way to tap into your body's natural healing abilities. If you have any questions, please send us an email at liveyounger.jmr@gmail.com.
Wow, thank you, author, for shedding light on this amazing technology. The X39 patch sounds like a must-try for anyone looking to feel more youthful and energized.
My pleasure, James. It's definitely worth exploring.
Please consider supporting Super Soldier Talk by purchasing your own Neo Meditation device. Your Neo Meditation device will help you reduce stress, integrate trauma, enhance intuition, enhance clairvoyance, and enhance creativity. Get yours now at www.neologicaltech.com.